Hi, this is Dr. Schweinsgruber from audioreviews.org, and today we are talking about the FiiO or FiiO. I have no idea how to pronounce it. Let's call it FiiO, the FiiO FD1 single dynamic driver earphone. FiiO is a very well known and very respected company out of China. They've been around since 2007, and in the early days they appear to have focused on accessory for the Apple infrastructure, for the Apple environment, like this fancy 32-pin connector for iPhone and iPad to connect with their early amplifiers. And this is one of their early amplifiers. This is the FiiO E12 Mont Blanc, which I purchased in 2013. And it was and is a very, very nice, good sounding amplifier. I really like it and I treasured it, and there's no scratch on it. Very, very nice. But today we are talking about a single dynamic driver earphone. FiiO has since spread out in all directions, and they cover dubs, ducks, amps, and earphones in all price categories from $70 up to several $100s, $600, I think. And I recently reviewed the 1+1, the single dynamic driver plus BA driver FiiO FH1S, and this is effectively the sibling at the same price. Now let's see how good it is. The FD1 shares the same shells as the FH1S. This is a single dynamic driver. The FH1S is a dynamic plus hybrid, so a double driver configuration. Both cost $70, and both shells are made of acrylic. The 10mm driver of the FD1 is beryllium coated, which means the diaphragm is beryllium coated, which means it should be very stiff and it should have a very tight bass response or driver response. The impedance at 32 ohm and the sensitivity of 109 decibels are fairly average standard for this type of earphone, and that means that it can be easily driven with just an ordinary phone, no problem. It has a very large frequency range from 10 Hz to 40 kHz. The cable is very pliable, very tightly braided, very soft. It has no microphonics and it works very well. The earphone comes in this nifty acrylic box, and it's got two sets of silicone tips and just one pair of foam tips. The two pairs are these gray ones with the red stem, and then the black ones. When I measured the frequency responses with either of these two pairs of silicone tips, they were pretty much identical. In fact, they were identical, but I found that the red stemmed one distorted the bass in my ears. That may be a personal thing, and therefore the black ones had a tighter bass for my ears. But again, it may be different for you. Okay, let's just have a look at the graph. What we see is a pronounced V shape. We see the biggest boost at the low end at the transition of bass and sub bass at around 60 Hz, and then we see a elevated upper mid range between 2 and 4 kHz, which is usually fatiguing, usually creates shoutiness, but not in this case. We are lucky. So the earphone sounds much better than the graph looks. I'm not so sure whether this 8-9 kHz peak is actually real or whether it's a resonance peak. So the tonality is V-shaped. Obviously, the driver is very fast because it's beryllium coated. It has a very vivid presentation. The bass sub bass transition boost creates a very visceral low and a very good punch, but because it's so low down, it never is fatiguing. But it's also a little bit unrealistic in real life. Because the punch is so far down, it only bleeds a little bit into the mid-range, into the vocals department, the vocals are actually quite good. They're well sculptured. Well, they could be a little bit more forward, but it's quite good as it is. And they're only, in some cases, they can be pointy, they can be sharp, they can be aggressive, but typically they're not. Although there is a bit of sibilance. The real star of this is the treble. The treble is well extended, it's well resolving, it's got a good note weight. It's actually very, very rare in this class. Soundstage is above average. It's a little bit wider and a little bit deeper than the usual $70 fare. But where it really shines is that it's tall. And that's the thing with cheap earphones, especially dynamic driver earphones, that typically don't have a tall sound stage. And so this creates a nice big headroom. Let's talk about technicalities. Soundstage. Soundstage is above average in terms of width and depth, and where it really shines is height. It's very tall. It has got a very, very good headroom. Soundstage is great. What about organic sound? Timbre, or as the grumpy French say, timbre, timbre. Well, timbre is not as good as it could be. It's not as organic. That's because this has to do with the dynamic range. The dynamics of these earphones are very, very strong. It's a very vivid, very forward, very punchy sounding earphone with lots of pizzazz, and that's great for electronic music. It's great for rock music. It's not so good for classical music because it's not very natural, not very realistic. So if you listen to classical or acoustic, you would probably prefer the tin Hi-Fi T2 Plus, which again could be a little bit boring for people who want rock and roll. So everybody to their own. I would say that I could characterize this, if it was a photo, the sound, it would be an over-pixelated photo with I don't know how many megapixels, but it wouldn't be as organic, as natural as the old 35mm slide. So depending what you want, you have the choice. I'm just characterizing the earphone. So I think that the FiiO or FiiO FD1 is actually a very good value at $70, and it will find its friends. It's just what you want. It's got very well accessorized, and it's got a very lively dynamic sound. You don't need an amp. That's the great thing. It runs on any dinky phone, and that's all I can say. So if you liked this video, then please subscribe to our YouTube channel and push that little bell so that you get notifications. You find all the necessary links, including a purchase link, below. And if you think that our stuff, what we do at audioreviews.org, saves you money, please just don't be shy and push the PayPal button. I can't pronounce it. PayPal button, because what we do costs money, and we do it without affiliate links and without advertisement, because we don't believe in that. So it's all voluntary. I thank you very much for listening and for watching. And this was Dr. Schweinsgruber speaking out of Calgary, Alberta, Canada. See you next time.